Hey, Pete Winarski here, and I'm here with David Tweet today. The two of us are the leaders of Win Enterprises LLC. David, thanks for joining.
Hey, good to be here.
I'm thrilled that we're both here. We just had a session just before this. It just wrapped up maybe about a half hour ago. Part of our More Revenue, More Profit Business Acceleration year-long program. And man, I mean, the folks here are grooving it. Would you agree?
Oh, it was an awesome session. And, Pete, the best part is the energy that everyone had that was in that session was amazing. And they're all energized now and they're going like crazy with the homework, which is even better. So
yeah, implementation really is everything, right? It's like
take action.
Yeah, you could be scholarly and intellectually get the principles and not ever do anything with it. So, congratulations to you all who are implementers. I really appreciate this about you. And we're going to talk today about, why wait and see is a dangerous strategy. And that's really the purpose of today's conversation. Just before we do that, I just want to share this website, More Revenue, More Profit.com. Hopefully you could see that okay. More Revenue, More Profit.com. In addition to our Facebook group, which is also called More Revenue, More Profit, you see the ticker at the bottom of this video. We want you to go to the Facebook group. We want you to get involved. This is where we're interacting like we are right here, right now. We also want you to know about More Revenue, More Profit.com. It's not something that we've talked a lot about up until now. So it's a valuable resource that's there. It's there for you. There's resources and tools and things that you can find useful to help your business like immediately, right? So just go there and check it out. And I'm certain that the report that's there on the first page about marketing mistakes, click there, enjoy, take it the full Monty if you want to. But the idea is know that it's there. So know that More Revenue, More Profit.com is there for you as a resource in addition to this Facebook group. So let's talk about wait and see. David, how many times have we talked to someone just in our network and like, hey, how's it going right now? Because we're checking in, like we're checking in with people. We've got calls and emails that usually when you get someone on the line, it starts with like, man, how's your business going? You got COVID going on. There's a recession. There's all sorts of unrest. And, how many times have we heard, well, I'm kind of waiting to see what happens.
And Pete, we've heard that quite a lot. Now, what's interesting is there's two groups of individuals that we've talked to. One is, I'm going to wait and see. And others are, holy cow, this is a great opportunity for XYZ. And then they go into what they're thinking, how they're responding, how they're taking action. And it's just very interesting how very distinct the two groups are out there.
Yeah, I think the wait and seers, maybe I just created a new phrase, I'm not sure. But the wait and seers, the people who are just kind of like waiting to see what happens before they make any big decisions. There's a lot of risk in here. And, I think kind of two ways I think about this. Firstly, you've got, if you're waiting and seeing, it's like you're a ball inside of a pinball machine. You're like, maybe the flipper will knock me to a place where I'm scoring a lot of points, but maybe the flipper will send me in such a way that I bounce back so hard that I miss the flippers and I go and I'm out of the game. Right. So that's one thing. The second, of course, is, if you're waiting and seeing, that means you're not really doing anything other than maintenance mode. You're just kind of holding it together. And what are your competitors doing? So if your competitors are not hanging back and waiting and they've got a plan and they're executing the plan, then they're in a better spot and they're going to go running straight past you while you are getting bounced around inside that pinball machine.
Right. And Pete, it's interesting. I do quite a bit of reading on what's going on in industry, what's going on out in the world, because, understanding what are those trends and how that impacts our clients and how that impacts us as an organization it's very important to be on the front edge of all of that. And a great McKinsey article that I just read, and let me just read you the one sentence. They did an extensive survey, and they looked at companies throughout about a 10-year period of time in history, and they wanted to understand what was the differentiation between the wait and sees and the companies that were innovative in a time of crisis. So let me just read the result. They said during the first 5 years after the Great Recession of 2008, leaders that could answer the question about outperforming and taking and innovating, okay, those leaders outperformed the market by average of 20%. Now, if your company was outperforming your competitors by 20%, what would that allow you to do? How would that impact not only you as a leader, but how would that impact your organization? Would that give you the opportunity to accelerate out of a recession? And right now, they're saying we're in a recession. So now's the time to take action. And it's interesting, those companies that are taking action and innovating, what is their result going to look like in a couple of years from now?
So with that in mind, because those are pretty dramatic results, with some history and data attached to it, you don't want to be sitting back. So if that's the case, wait and see is not the right strategy for you. Well, what is the right strategy? Let's lay it out in 3 basic points. The first one is stay firm on your purpose. You've got a purpose of why you're in business in the first place, your personal purpose, your company's purpose. There's a variety of statements that you may have written around that, your purpose statement or your mission statement, et cetera. Be clear there. And that's probably not moving. So, if you're a big company, you've got all kinds of statements written down. They're probably in the lobby behind a glass frame. But if you're a small business owner, this might be something that you've never bothered to write down. It's just in your heart. It's in your heart and your soul. And this is why I'm here. I'm here to serve these people in the following way. It's my bigger mission. So whatever that is for you, that's still true. So continue to live that and recognize that waiting and seeing and sitting back, you're not delivering towards that mission as effectively as you could be. So that's number one. Secondly, do a quick evaluation of, what's going on in the world right now? And are there opportunities for me to make a small change in my strategy? We're talking tweaks. We're not talking about blow it up and redo it. Although for some of you, that might be a better answer than waiting and seeing. I'm not sure, but certainly tweaking around the edges, right? Well, what small changes might I be able to make? Like a restaurant in recent months probably had to figure out, how do I go get some outside seating? How do I create curbside pickup? How do I create delivery? Right? I'm still a restaurant. I still have a menu, right? I still am serving the people in my community to help them to eat delicious food and enjoy the experience attached to my name, my brand. Still a restaurant, but there may be some things around the edges that I've had to tweak. And then thirdly, take that new plan with your new creative ideas of how to serve and satisfy your vision, your principles, your mission, your purpose, and now execute well. This is always about, once you've made a decision on what to do, go execute and execute well. Implement your plan, get into action, and do it well. David, take it from here. What are your thoughts?
Well, and Pete, it's thinking creatively, using your suggestion or your example of a restaurant. I was just talking to a really good friend of mine who was talking to a restaurant owner, and this is a higher end restaurant. And this owner was struggling to keep the doors open. And in our conversation, we discussed and said, okay, well, take a step back. What's the clientele look like? And we defined what that looked like. And then, because that's your ideal client, right? Then we said, okay, creatively, what do they want from, a nice restaurant like you? Because you have all these awesome customers. They're just not showing up in person. So what could you do? And within, the state of Connecticut, where we're at, Pete, they're allowing alcohol to be delivered with your meal, right? So think about high end is if I'm in a high end restaurant and I can call up and order a multi-course meal, and maybe it has, a couple small bottles of wine to pair with the different courses that I'm getting, what would that be worth to your customers? And it's taking what you currently do really, really well. And then how do you tweak it to deliver in the environment we're in today?
It's
So
interesting. You came up with that example about the delivering alcohol. There was I think that was the first takeout we did way back at the beginning, like March or whatever it was. And when restaurants first opened back up and said, we're open for pickup. And there's a big sign, like the tent signs, the big boards out in front on the busy corner that said, we're open for takeout. And it said, it's a Mexican restaurant, take home margarita. I'm like, hell yeah. I want to have a margarita come home with me. So I went and I ordered, I phoned up and I said, and I can order margarita? They're like, oh, of course you can. I'm like, well, then I will. And I did. And it was a very simple exercise to just go home and pour the ingredients in, put the ice in, and it was done. But it was like, I just ordered a drink, that you can't do that, on a normal daily basis. So pretty interesting idea.
Yeah. And, in that one example and in your Mexico restaurant example, Pete, these aren't huge changes. These are just small tweaks, just a small tweak. And holy cow, your possibility opens up.
Yeah. And as it turned out, there was the when I went in to pick up, the guy who was there and handed my order to me was the same waiter that my son and I had about a month earlier. And I remembered him and he remembered us. So that's another part of the experience when you go into a restaurant is, there's some recognition of, maybe the server, the level of service, certainly. So that was just an extra unplanned bonus that we remembered each other. Right. So that was pretty interesting. So let me wrap this up. The idea of waiting and seeing, dangerous place to be, don't hang out, don't wait and see. Well, what happens with the pandemic? What happens with the election? What happens with the economy? What happens with government financing or the next bailout? Do not wait for these things, right? Because if you're just hanging back waiting for the next government bailout, well, first of all, based on recent history, you're going to be hanging out a long time. That's not a good strategy. But secondly, why not take things in your own hands, right? So if part of your business needs right now are, I've got to generate some cash flow, then what can you offer that would create some quick sales, right? Just get creative about it. That's the tweak. You're clear on your purpose, who you serve, how you serve them, why you serve them. Then what tweaks do you make and then execute well? Go crazy on executing your plan. Don't give up. Keep at it. David, thank you for joining today. It was just fun having you.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's one other challenge to everyone listening today. And that is, as a business owner, challenge Pete and I. Go on to our Facebook page, Facebook group, More Revenue, More Profit, and write a note to us and say, hey, here's my biggest challenge. What are your thoughts on that? Because Pete, I love a challenge.
You do love a challenge. In fact, you sink your teeth in so hard, you don't give up until you're like a pit bull, a human pit bull. Yeah. So David, the human pit bull, wants to solve your challenges in our Facebook group, More Revenue, More Profit. you can come back to morerevenuemoreprofit.com. It's a different site, but here's the link again, morerevenuemoreprofit.com. Come here, visit, and see some of the resources we have there for you as well. And we'll catch you again soon. Thanks for joining today.
Thanks.